and good morning for our customers and partners in USA side, and good afternoon for the Europe side. So, my name is Ant. I'm a product manager with Komodo, and today I'll be first of all talking about how data protection fits in our portfolio of products, and I will also take a quick look at the landscape and I'll talk about our vision about the things we're planning to do. And Zainab uh, is also one of our product managers. Will help us through a demo of what we have done so far, and we will show you a short-term roadmap, and we'll get Q&As from you as much as possible. So, as you know, Komodo has a huge product set, a solution set, and uh, we are almost in every place. We have endpoint protection solutions ranging from advanced endpoint protection, AAP, and EDR-based solutions like our MDR service, including web security solutions, web filters, anti-spam solutions, cloud firewalls. We have a huge presence on security, and at the end of the day, one of the main purposes of all these R&D and all these investment is protecting data. So that is the reason we are actually looking into this market right now. And when we look at the details of the needs, those type of statistics are actually important in understanding. And by the way, these are up-to-date information. So on a global basis, uh, the liability, the cost of a single breach is around almost $4 million, and cost of per record is around $1,500. So it's a huge number, and some of the markets are affected hugely. Like on healthcare sector, it's almost triple the amount. And by the way, on healthcare sector, even a small hospital has around 100,000 healthcare records. So, and even some of the other sectors, like for instance engineering or design sectors, sometimes a single file can have a huge cost to a company. And the problem is we also have a huge delay in detection. On average, it takes around 280 days to to know that we've actually been breached. But the regulations are becoming tighter and tighter. I mean, we have HIPAA, SOX, and GDPR, and PCI DSS, and unbelievable amount of smaller ones specific to specific industries. But there is a huge change in the last decade. In the last decade, actually, whoever created the data, we thought that they actually also own the data, but it's not the case anymore. And everybody has a liability in that sense, especially GDPR, for instance. Even if you have a website that is open to users from Europe, and if you're somehow collecting their IP addresses, then you automatically become uh, in scope of the GDPR, for instance. Everything changed so quickly in the last decade. And most of the breaches, like almost half of the breaches, are coming from insider threats. But the market, the DLP market, changed so much that even Gartner is not releasing any more magic quadrants on DLP. It is a huge market that is actually divided into different categories. So we had this overview look at the markets and how the data is managed, and there are many related markets in that sense. The traditional data protection solutions focus on sharing of data and saving the data on endpoints and looking at the traffic inside the web traffic or email traffic, and making decisions on that content analysis. But the market grew so much that we have now data classification solutions on one end that actually most commonly tag the traffic or tag the files in that sense. And we have a huge IRM market, information rights management market, who are actually doing the same things, but on a different scale and a different approach. And we have productivity market, which is traditional, not a part of the data protection market, but it is related because data protection market automatically creates this kind of information and statistics that you can also present to your customers and to your management in that sense. And the cloud access security brokers, they're the hot topic right now, which are actually doing something very similar. Like when you go into these markets, you will see that almost 30% of all the features are actually data protection features. So we don't have a single market anymore. What is our vision? Our vision is data centric. We focus to be extending our reach to wherever the data is, whether it be a cloud drive or a Linux endpoint or a Windows endpoint. And yes, indeed, data is moving from one channel to another. So like all the classical DLPs do, we will focus on extending our coverage of channels as well. But the cloud first is a common approach for all Komodo solutions. Our data protection solution will be integrated into ITarian, into endpoint security, and we will also try our best to do that on the endpoint side. We will not ask for additional investment, like installing some servers on your premises, because, as you know, a lot of solutions in the data prevention market has huge huge requests, like installing this Oracle database somewhere, putting a different server for each channel in your network. We will not go into that path. We will try to be as easy as possible in that sense. And when we will continue to focus on content analysis, but we will, it doesn't mean that we will steer away from data classification. Yes, we will go into data classification as well. And with that in mind, we can just switch to what we have done so far in the beta program. Zeynep, I'm passing the ball to you.
Okay, thank you, Ant. I will share my screen first. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we do.
Hello, everyone. This is Zeynep. I'm the responsible product manager for Komodo Client Security and ITSM Cybersecurity. As Ant mentioned, we started to develop new data protection features to our security products. I will start with portal settings and then continue with scanning a discovery rule on an endpoint with CCS. For CCS, we can apply the same abilities with portal, but user will create all settings from the portal and send their profiles. First, we can create a new data loss prevention discovery rule under data loss prevention menu under configuration templates. We can enter a name for our discovery rules and a description. And we can select an action which includes ignore and quarantine, and create our rules. I created this one before, sorry. And then we can continue with editing our rules. We can select some targets from here. We can specify which directory we want to add. We want to scan for our endpoints. We can add exclusions, which directories we don't want to scan for this specific rule. We can edit our patterns. We have some predefined patterns for our customers, but we will have more custom patterns later. We can customize our patterns with regular expressions and keyword groups. We can create new custom patterns later, and we can add thresholds. How many of how many credit card number we want to find in a document, for example. And we have document types we have extensions for the text-based document types for start, but we are trying to extend our document types now. And the last section, we can see which profiles we added this rule. After creating this rule, we can edit our rules to our profiles. For example, we have a new section under profiles, data loss prevention section. By clicking this section, we can see discovery and monitoring abilities for our DLP abilities. We can add our rules from here, and we can see which rules we have. For example, I added the one I created before. And by clicking these rules, we can go to the specific rule we added to our profiles and go for editing our rules. And also we have monitoring abilities. For start, we only have removable storage rule, but later on we will continue to adding a new real-time monitoring rules under our DRP abilities. For removable storage access rule, we can block or ignore our removable storage. For example, we don't want the customers to send any document types to removable storage, and we can block them for start. But later on, we will start to search patterns under that documents also. We can select criteria and we will add USB card, SD card, SD micro, external HDD or SSD devices, optical read-write devices later on. And we have options to not log these actions if performed. After creating our rules, adding to the our profiles, we can see some actions. So we can start select our profiles which we added our DLP rules, and action to an endpoint button. We can run all the discoveries which we selected, and by clicking this button we can start scanning our rules on the selected profiles, and we can see the details which we can go to the profiles, or and we can see the logs, which datetime, which component or which action we take, and which patterns we run, and match columns, and we can see details of the, this is a staging, sorry for the page. Also we can see the details of the logs, and we have a quarantine files action I will show you from the CCS later on. And also we have system templates, and we have new system template settings abilities for DLP. We will customize our predefined patterns, and we can add keywords for searching under our documents, and we can import CSV files from here. For example, we want to search a name who tried to take our customer list. We will import our customer list, and we can search under our endpoints who have where and which the data they have. And we have role management for role permissions for data loss prevention under ITSM site. who can see our logs, who can see our data loss prevention menus, and it will be extended to our admins. Now I want to show to a scanning scenario on an endpoint. Let me create a new data loss prevention quickly here. I will quarantine under my directory, and I want to find some sensitive information under my endpoint, and I will find some patterns. I added some predefined patterns as like credit card numbers, IP network, MAC address, and etc. All document types are enabled, and I will select this button. This means that I want to see which matched column. I can see match column which data they are trying to steal from me. I will see the first and last digits of the selected keyword, but I can understand which one is I selected. And I will open my DLP tasks, and I will see my rule to start. We can see the details like we have before, like this, which one is I selected, which one is with details. Let me restore this one. We have some matches on my directory, and we found something with network addresses. Some documents have network addresses under my endpoint, and we can go and open, because I selected quarantine. If you find some documents which have this pattern, go and quarantine, and we can see that the matches document types are quarantined here. I can restore them or delete them from the endpoint. And also we can see under logs, we have a data loss prevention events here, and I created some logs before also. We can see some documents restored from the quarantine, and we can see details, which date, rule number, rule name, action, and status, and with file hashes. And I can see that this file have this pattern with this count and with this matches. I can see the details of the logs who have these patterns and how many of them they have and under which directory, which target under one endpoint. And this is the whole scenario for a discovery scan. This is all from my side. If we don't have any questions, we can proceed with Ant again.
And I'm making you a host again.
All right.
I paused.
Okay.
I'm just sharing my screen a second, please. Yep. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So what's on the roadmap for us? What are we going to tackle? What's our next move? As you can imagine, there's a lot of channels we need to work on: emails, web, instant messages, cloud drives, synchronization of cloud drives, USB flash disks, FTPs, RDPs, unbelievable amount of channels. and we have many places to connect to and make discoveries at, like the ones we do for endpoint. There is cloud drives, cloud applications, network drives, NAS storages, even IRM solutions and backup applications. And there's a lot of uh, regulations that we plan to help you with, HIPAA, GDPR. So we will have tens and even hundreds of predefined information sets built into the system. And while we are doing this, we are not just playing for the content analysis, but we are also focusing on the application protection side as well. Like when we are building email channels for content analysis, we are also introducing the capability to block third-party emails, like disposable emails. Or when we are going for the instant messaging content analysis, we are also introducing the capability to block other instant messages applications, or and plus the web applications of those instant messages. So there are a lot of files to track, who accessed which file, and who read the file, who wrote on the file. So we will go for file audits at some point. And on top of those, there are things you want to do, like looking for the performance of the employees, because you know what files they're looking at, you know what applications they are using, and you know what websites they're looking at. So we will, of course, put our emphasis on that part as well. But probably the most important part is moving from unstructured data to structured data. So whether it be a cloud drive or a local database or SQL database or a cloud database, yeah, we will do something about building that data asset inventory. So with that in mind, our first focus is on content analysis. Like Zeynep mentioned, web and email traffics are our first targets. But then we will focus on searching for data on different places, like MS SQL and MySQL and Oracle databases. Think about a scenario where you have this customer database and you have these social security numbers of your customers, or even phone numbers of your customers. You don't want to look at any phone number traffic in your emails, but you want to look at those particular specific phone numbers of your customers in the traffic. So without having this dynamic, uh, automatically updated keyword lists that are actually connected to your databases, it's not really possible to manually export this information and import this information into a DLP solution. And we will move on to the content part of things, context part of things. What I mean by that is, uh, there should be a difference between how an HR employee is treated compared to an IT employee, right? So endpoint manager will shift to, optionally of course, shift to an active directory based profiling approach. And there will be option to automatically update the profile of an endpoint based on the logged in user, which is actually also connected to the active directory if you want to. And we will, of course, in the meantime, continue our journey into the channels, uh, like removable storages. We've already started this one, but we will extend it to content analysis, as well as many different devices like FireWire devices, SD disks, but also printers and clipboards. We will not forget about those, but we will also focus on some extreme cases like multi-step exfiltrations, like you send half of the email with half of the credit card in one email and the other half in another email, sort of scenarios will also be covered. And with that in mind, we will move to the cloud side of things. Box, Dropbox, OneDrive, G Drive, they're all in our uh, target list. And one of our important mission is always uh, finding the data and turning that unstructured data to structured data. So it means we will go into file indexing on local and remote servers and cloud platforms uh, as well. So here's a quick peek at the things I mentioned there. Like we have this web traffic, email traffic, extending our reach to Mac and Linux platforms on discovery side, instant messaging, drive encryptions at some point, like including USB flash disks and even local drives, user justifications, like you don't have to set specific rules and make sure that there are some cases you might want to ask the user and let the user decide if they want to continue sharing this traffic, even if after detection is made. So justification is one of the things we are also working on. There's a huge emphasis on role management because right now we are dealing with very sensitive information. So we need to make sure that the right people and only the right people can access this information at the end of the day. And keyword databases, this is something I mentioned as well. So any questions, feel free to barge in or use the chat screen. Let me just pause.
We have a couple of questions already, Ant, on the chat.
I am trying to answer it.
Okay, I will start from the top then. Robin has a question about our good old DLP and what's going to happen to it, I guess, right? So yes, we have this My DLP product for a long time. I was actually a part of its initial team as well. The idea is, yes, we will continue to support My DLP for some time, but the technologies in there will be moved inside our new solution. There is a core difference here between My DLP and the Komodo data protection solution we are working on. First of all, My DLP is a pure DLP solution. Data protection is going to be a combination of focuses still, of course, on the data protection, data loss prevention side, but we are extending our reach to other markets like cloud access, security brokerage, data classification as well. And there is one architectural difference there as well, because on My DLP, the way we tackle the traffic is generally on the network level. Now there is upsides to that and downsides to that, of course. The main problem we faced was, especially when a user leaves the company premises, it's not really possible to continue protecting them from a network perspective DLP solution. So in our new solution, in Komodo data protection solution, all the channels and all the interceptions and all the content analysis is going to be done on the endpoint. So it doesn't matter where the endpoint is. And with that in mind, yeah, everything is going to be moved to Komodo data protection at some point, everything you can see, and plus much more on the My DLP. A second question, ignore and quarantine seems a little limited for options, says Robin. Should the discovery not just identify only with other rules later to process the discovered files? Okay, so we have two different approaches to discoveries because there are two different targets to discovery. First one, you are looking at an endpoint or a location because you don't know what's there. You want to understand what's there. You are actually trying to move from unstructured data to structured data. The feature Zeynep just showed us focuses on this approach. So, and on the endpoint. So what we are doing right now is we are crawling through an endpoint and identifying our sensitive data, and in the meantime, letting the user to take action on the data if they want to. Another approach we will also introduce is to crawl through structured data so that it can be used on many different channels. And a good example is, let's say that you have this file server sitting somewhere in your network, and and there are some very sensitive files in there, like let's say that it's an IT files or HR database, it doesn't matter, but all the files are there, are highly sensitive. So you want to introduce rules to make sure that no one can share those files through, let's say, email, right? So what you do is, when we introduce that feature, it is also a part of the short-term roadmap, by the way, for some channels, for some locations, let's say. You will be able to crawl through those locations and build document databases. That's what we call them. That's what we called them in the MyDLP as well, so that they can be used in many places like monitoring rules or even other discoveries. So Shabir says, yes, we need tutorial for creating DLP and presentations. Yeah, of course, I believe we can share something.
I sent the help guide for DLP features we have, and we will update our wikis, and I will send from the forum which we announce our releases after the release date. You can find our use guides from here.
Yeah, that's great. So Robin says, being able to quarantine files from one device is good, but once you have rescued them from the device, you need to be able to restore them to a central location. Yeah. So that is the idea behind quarantine actions, really. So when you use quarantine actions, that is the difference between block actions that you haven't seen yet and the quarantine actions. This is actually the same approach with MyDLP as well. So when you are using quarantine on the log on the central location in the cloud, you will actually have access to the actual file itself. So before it is deleted, it will be added to the log that is actually reachable from the cloud. Restore action automatically tries to put it into the place it was detected and deleted first, but it doesn't mean that you're actually losing the file, even if the endpoint is no longer there, because on the quarantine action, you as the account admin still have access to that file because it's saved for you. And in the near future, you will also be able to export that to your own Google Drives, so that you can save much more data if you want to. And Robin says, thank you for these lot of questions, Robin, by the way. Active Directory is okay, but as we all move to the cloud, we need on Azure and Jump Cloud, etc. Yeah, you are correct. And there is actually some work going around Azure connections, not just specific to DLP, by the way, but also on an ITarian level, like on an endpoint manager level. So once that is completed, DLP is going to automatically be able to take advantage of all the features presented there. Oh, you were already talking about this restoring. Sorry, guys. I'm just going down from messages one by one. Robin, by the way, I mean, feel free to send me an email. If you have more questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Let me just share my email here.
Yes, and also I shared my email too. You can always contact with us at any time for your feedback and additional comment or questions, whatever you have. So we are here for you, and we are working on this data protection. We are trying to provide more capabilities in a short term. So please feel free to contact with us. Also, Zeynep shared a forum link. You can always put your question, feedback, and requirements from there as well. Also, we are sharing our release notes and the upcoming features over there. So you can check, you can track the upcoming features about the data protection as well as the whole platform. So Robin, please ask your any of question from anywhere, no problem. It's good for you because we want to get your feedback and requirements. We are building this product for you, so it's so important to get your needs. It's the most important thing for us. Thank you so much again joining for us. And Ant and Zeynep also, thank you for your good presentation. And if you have any other webinar topic suggestion, please also contact with us. We can make this anytime for about any topic. So if you don't have any questions, we can close this session for now.
All right, let me add just one more thing. I believe we will be sharing a survey with you. Please help us understand what your priorities are in terms of protecting your own data. Because as I mentioned, data protection is a huge topic, and we definitely need your help on making the right prioritizations here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.